Hi, I'm Terry Murphy for the Data Advocate, and we advocate all those smart people. And we've got a great man here today. He's in the men's room with Murph, and he's amazing in the world of technology. His name is Mathew Kallumadil. Did I do that well?
Yep.
He is actually the Vice President of Technology and Innovation at Stellar MLS, which happens to be in Orlando, Florida. But he has a magnificent background in technology, and one of the big innovations, Mathew, right now is how AI is affecting everything, including the real estate industry. Tell us a little bit about what you're hearing about AI for the real estate industry and how maybe the MLS sector is responding.
Yeah, it's a really fluid topic at the moment, AI, in the sense that I think there's a lot of unknowns for people who want to use it. There's actually a lot of unknowns for people who develop artificial intelligence, but very exciting times nonetheless. Um, I believe real estate is in an interesting position for this particular technology. If you think back to kind of 2022, that was the buzzword was metaverse, and you recall that, right? Feels like a long time ago, and it's still alive, of course. But when that was the kind of next big thing, it was hard for people to imagine what that could look like, what the benefits could be. Now, with kind of the launch of ChatGPT and the kind of the subsequent innovations, it was very realizable for most people. It's very hands-on. It's you can almost touch it, right? What the impact of that, and that made a big difference, of course. And so what used to be, or what is an industry typically that is a lagger, and there's a good reason why the real estate industry is a lagger in terms of technology adoption, is kind of now shifting. So why was it a lagger? Or is still to some extent a lagger when it comes to technology adoption. A couple of things that I can think of. One is, of course, real estate. The average age, I think, in Stellar MLS is certainly above 50 of the people that are realtors, and nothing to do with ageism really at this point, but we see that it's kind of like a second career, right? Or maybe a second career after a career, or even a parallel career, right? And so it just naturally comes at a later stage in your life where you're maybe not so, you're not going to jump into the next big thing, right? Right away, at least. Where you're a bit more cautious, you're a bit more, you just worked your way through a lot of tech and figured your way out, and you don't want to go and move again. The second reason I think is also that kind of this new technology typically comes, starts with teenagers. And teenagers are right. It's just TikTok, and do you need to learn TikTok the moment it comes out? No, because teenagers typically don't buy homes or sell homes right away, right? So you have a bit of time to figure things out, and you can kind of wait and see if it sticks. So that was, I think, kind of those are two underlying things that generally kind of let the industry be a little bit more react slower to the kind of technology innovations. But with AI, I think that has changed dramatically because, again, the benefits are just immediate, and especially immediate on the marketing side. That was kind of, if you recall the news, it was kind of you could create anything, listing descriptions, images, and that's kind of the bread and butter of a realtor, right? And real estate to market those properties. And so once that became evident, the industry as a whole, I think, have embraced this new technology very quickly, maybe even a little too quickly, and went with it and ran with that notion of adopting artificial intelligence wherever they could, really. So super exciting, but we have to be a bit cautious on some things. And I'm doing a course now on AI quite a bit, and this part of it is AI ethics, and it's quite insightful to understand how little we understand actually what's going on behind the scenes, and what's happening in this black box of artificial intelligence. Yeah, so very interesting.
Well, remember, it's not new for kids because they're willing to try anything and they don't know the consequences. For most agents, and the average age slightly older for women, I might say, it's not a new normal. I mean, it's for them, they've been doing what they've done. I mean, Saul Klein, one of our visionaries in MLS, I mean, we go way, way back to where we actually started putting that information together, and how it revolutionized the ability to coordinate sales and information and data. And that's what we're into now. But what are some of the ways you're looking to advance technology specifically in the MLS space with this?
So when we talk about advancement of technology, I don't see technology needs to be advanced. I think technology comes to us. What needs to be advanced is kind of our processes, the way we do things, the user experiences. That's really the focus. And technology to me is more of a supporting aspect of it, of how do we create better experiences for customers, to agents, etc. Right? So it's not technology for the sake of technology in some sense, and it's coming from me. I should be promoting technology and all that stuff more vividly, I think. But I do certainly recognize it as like, focus on the processes. Can you limit it some? Can you make a small step a little easier? Can you change things? And hey, okay, we have technology that can help us with this part, right, or not. More often than not, even certainly in Stellar, but in other organizations that I've worked in, it wasn't really technology that had to be changed. It was more so, hey, let's map out this process. Oh, this is a friction point for this person. Okay, let's take it out or change the way we can do business. And this is kind of lofty as an example, but I do certainly believe, yeah, we shouldn't focus on how can we move forward with tech. And that's why Stellar, I think, I haven't been, the last year was more about education around AI. I know a lot of organizations just jumped on the bandwagon right away to just offer AI tools and services, and no judgment there. But for us, it was important to focus internally that our team, our staff knows the good things and bad things about technology, this new technology right now. And now we're in a position to say, okay, let's what do we want to offer, right? How does it fit into the workflow of an agent, right? Rather than offering another product out of the 12 to 18, according to T3, that an agent on average uses. That doesn't make a difference. That doesn't add a lot of value. They can do that themselves. But how can we make that a different experience? I think that's where we need to start.
That's such a great perspective. And the reason for that is because it's really at the core, it's about communication of the data that is relevant and useful and desired by both the consumer and the agent. So thank you for putting a light on that. And, with all the commission lawsuits that are going on right now, and I know we're not going to speak to that here because there's plenty out there, and associations and MLSs, they value, this is the value that we provide to an agent, is basically a multiple listing service. So we can find the properties, which you and I are working on a global network with Realtina.
Mm-hmm.
How do we look to, how do you and Stellar, because you are Stellar there, we all know that you're one of the most influentials, is to improve or increase the value that you provide to the agents? And I'm really glad you said it's not about the technology. Would it be more about the adoption and how to use it?
Absolutely. I mean, going back to the metaverse example almost, right? I mean, it was always there. We could have offered it. We could have looked into it in depth. We did, but we didn't feel comfortable just, buying a plot of land in the digital metaverse in one of those, in the sandbox or so, right? And then see where it goes from that. I think, in light of kind of the current situation, I would say, we have to do a lot better in communicating our value. That's a given, I think. In many ways, I see the MLS a little bit like the CPU of a laptop or of a computer, right? And to me, kind of from a branding perspective, Intel did a great job, probably early 2000s, 90s, maybe even, of how they made sure people know about Intel. Because really, people don't buy the CPU, they buy the laptop, the computer,
right.
Back then compacts, this is really old stuff, but whichever brand you used, right? Apple, Macs, etc. They didn't buy the CPU, but what they made sure is that in every ad that goes out there, that at the end it says Intel Inside, right? If you recall that, the little mini clip at the end, and that was very intentional to show that there's a lot of value going with Intel as a company in this case, right? But fundamentally for MLSs, it's the same thing. We do need to, I think, reach out to the consumers. If our president says has a misconception about how all of this works, then maybe we have done a good job as an industry to communicate that clearly of where our value lies, right? And so there's a concerted effort around this, and that's I think really valuable for all stakeholders in this industry, from home buyers and sellers to all the way to portals, etc. For everybody that has a stake in this, right? At Stellar specifically, we always kind of said one of our kind of mottos was we make MLS easy, or we work hard to make MLS easy. And so that is really still the goal. And I kind of referring back to kind of certain things. How can we make the experience frictionless for the customers, and our customers being the realtors in this case? And where can we be of value in that journey that they do every day? So one of the things that we're doing, introducing soon, is going to be an app marketplace. But it's not just going to be just any app marketplace. We're going to try to make it, again, a seamless experience where the high value applications that they really want, and can fit into their lives.
Well, I didn't tell our viewers that you were, and our Dr. Mathew, a physicist, so he obviously knows how to do fractions really well. And you understand the value of data. I mean, a whole lot of data doesn't do you any good unless we can sort it and put it in a way that's useful and supportive of what your outcomes are. So just want you to comment on this. What do you consider some of the biggest advancements in the MLS space that we can anticipate, besides you and I working together with some of the other most amazing people like Sam DeBoard of Riso, as we put together some of the, I'll say, guidelines, standards, protocols, ethics that are going out there. Tell us what you see, because I know we're going to be together in October. I know that the event is situated in Milan, Italy, in case you happen to be there. But tell us a little bit about what you see, because that's going to be really valuable information for us.
So you mentioned Riso. I think Riso is pivotal, especially right now when we have this new technology coming up that's trying to establish and penetrate the industry, really. I was just recently on stage with one of my colleagues, and he was mentioning they create a compliance tool. And for them to make sure that their tool is AI worthy, or like can work with AI, they needed to have standardized data to train it, right? So it's absolutely essential for that. And we can, speaking of kind of the international markets, that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for them, is getting the information and the data, and then standardizing, of course, so it speaks the same language. But ultimately, I mean, anecdotally more so, it really spurs innovation, that data standard, and that's, to me, there's no question about this. And you can just take a simple example, and I mentioned this in Paris back last year. Small company with a small market that they're trying to address, or try to solve a problem for, they would have a really tough time to scale without having data standards in place, right? They can do a proof of concept somewhere with an MLS or a region. They can create this tool, maybe even solve the problem, but then how do they go to the next one? How do they grow? How do they make themselves successful? And having those data standards in place just is a game changer for them. That will be very difficult in some markets out there that don't have MLS and or standards. It'll be quite difficult.
Right.
I mean, you'll probably see some AI hanging around there. There's a few solutions that I've seen internationally, but they're not they're not, I think they're based on all kind of public data that they can grab, right? It's not that they have solid real estate information like we do in North America. That's a luxury. And that's why we see a lot of those companies actually coming from those markets first to the US to kind of, they have a good technology, they know it can be used, but they don't have the data, so they come to us where they establish themselves.
Well, I think one of the key elements of the Paris Paradigm, the whole Realtina event for multiple domain networks and all that goes with it is options that people don't know about that would help them support better services to the consumer. And the fact that when we have systems and data consistency, we have more trust. We have more trust, we get to do more, because real estate fuels the world. I mean, I know we need food, and clothing, but really it's all about real estate because you got to have some place to live. Mathew, you're so valuable to our industry and your background. I mean, isn't it magnificent the way it comes together and puts you in a place where you can be of such leadership in this particular space? I am looking forward to the event, the MLS International Forum in October. And you mentioned that you spoke there last year, which is where we met. And every time I meet with you, we get more impressed with what you know and your perspective. I hope you'll join us again for another Data Advocate segment as we update AI and how it's rolling out, and as we look at a global collaboration to put data in a place where it's safe and dependable. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Terry.